The House Energy, Communications, and Technology Committee will come to order. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Chair Scott,
Present.
Representatives Andrews,
Present.
Coleman,
Here.
Witsit, Neely, Burns,
Here.
Churches,
Present.
Hill,
Here.
McDonald,
Here.
McFall,
Here.
Wenzel, Outman, Aragona,
Here.
Bagol,
Here.
Green,
Here.
Preston,
Here.
Schmaltz. Madam Chair, you have 13 members, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Representative Burns makes a motion to adopt the minutes from the May 17th, 2023 meeting. Okay, so today we have presentations from Scott Stevenson, President of Telecommunications Association of Michigan. Will you please come to the table? Thank you. And also Joel Demand. Thank you both for being here this morning. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Scott Stevenson. I'm president of the Telecommunications Association of Michigan, and Joel Demand is here with me today, our vice president. I'm going to do the easy stuff, just talk about our members, who we are, and then Joel can handle all your tough questions. The first thing, this is a short presentation. Really, it's just an introduction, so you have an idea who we are. We call ourselves TAM. Our organization's been around since 1935. We have members that have been providing service much longer than that. We have 35 internet service provider members in the association, and they primarily focus on providing telecom broadband services to rural communities. Our Michigan's first telephone company was, and I think you heard a little bit about this a couple weeks ago, was the Ontonagon County Telephone Company on the west end of the Upper Peninsula. It was founded by two men who went to the first World's Fair that was held in Philadelphia, and they saw Alexander Graham Bell exhibit the telephone. They came back and started a company there, and today they provide fiber optic service to their community. So they've had to replace some of that original equipment from the 1870s. Going east in the Upper Peninsula, the Baraga Telephone Company and Hiawatha Communications are providing fiber optic services in their communities, but they formed a new company called Peninsula Fiber Network, and that company provides 911, next generation 911 services to virtually the entire state. So all of your constituents, if they have to call 911, it's probably going to go on the Peninsula Fiber Network. And it's a real asset for the Upper Peninsula to have two such high-tech companies located up there, good-paying jobs. They need more people, but they're doing what you want companies to do, which is investing in their communities. And that's what sets our members apart from some. A lot of them are community-based, and they provide services to their friends and their neighbors and their families, so they have a real sense of wanting those communities to be as advanced as they can be. Getting a little personal, I'm at the far eastern end of the UP on Drummond Island, and even where I am, which is a very remote location, I have fiber optic service to my home. I don't have cell service, but I do have fiber. So I feel pretty good about picking that place. And the company that serves Drummond Island is the only company that's invested in telecom on the island, and that's Michigan Broadband Services. They have a grant request into USDA to provide fiber to every location on that island, and they're already building fiber across the UP and Lower Peninsula in some of their service areas. Coming down the state, down near the Ohio border, Ogden Communications is a little 400 customer company down in Ogden. They were well ahead of the curve. They invested in 100% fiber optic network for their customers. It's got to be 8 or 9 years ago. They were upgrading their network and said, let's just do this now, because everybody was going to fiber eventually, and they did it. They were the first company in the state to do that. Brightspeed is probably one of the newer companies in Michigan, but their network has been here a long time. They bought CenturyLink's assets in the state, and they're in the middle of rolling out services to 24,000 fiber optic services to 24,000 customers in 6 counties. In Southfield, we have 123Net, and they've teamed up with Peninsula Fiber Network from Marquette and Daystar from Owasso. They're building a high-capacity fiber network from Southfield to Lansing, and that extra capacity is going to be available for communities along that route to improve their broadband services. They've also, PFN and 123Net are building a similar route from Southfield to Bay City, again, bringing extra capacity to a pretty populated corridor there. And then the last thing I'd mention is Highline is also, it's been in the state for 2 or 3 years now, and they have already built in that time fiber to 13,000 customers in the Upper Peninsula and Thumb areas. So our companies tend to be small, they're community-based, but they are investing heavily in broadband, and it's been fun to work with them. I've been with the association for 30 years, so I've seen pre-internet and post-internet, and it's just been amazing, the transformation that's taken place within the industry and within society as a result. The last thing I want to mention, we've got a sheet in front of you with our policy objectives. Our board of directors does expect us occasionally to provide some return on their investments in us. We have two, I guess we break it down into two main categories this session. In terms of public policy, you know, our objective is to make sure that every dollar a company wants to invest in getting broadband to a customer goes to that purpose. And to do that, we need to try where we can to minimize taxes, to lower fees or easement requirements that are placed on us, and to get reimbursements for some relocation projects that don't benefit consumers but are still necessary in the areas where the governments are taking place. And then the other thing is we've been working closely with MyHigh, trying to provide as much assistance as we can. It's got an important role to play in allocating broadband dollars that are coming to the state. You know, the Robin applications are in. We should probably be hearing any day now who the initial award recipients are. And then that's $238 million. And then there's another maybe $1.6 billion coming for the BEAD program. And that program needs to be coordinated in a way that it's not overbuilding where Robin money is going or any of the other federal programs that have been around for several years now that have hundreds of billions of dollars that are being spent in the state today. So we're trying to help MyHigh with our members, making sure that they've got all the data they need to make that work. And we've had a good working relationship with them so far and appreciate their willingness to listen to us. So I just wanted to hit the highlights, say hello, but we're happy to answer any questions you might have about our membership or about broadband issues or just broadband in the state as a whole.
Thank you so much. We appreciate the presentation. Do we have any questions at all for Scott? Oh, I'm sorry. Representative Wenzel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you guys for being here today. Appreciate all your efforts that you do in our rural communities. We know that a lot of rural communities are underserved in broadband, including myself, still don't have broadband. But would exempting property taxes on broadband equipment help you to get in the rural areas, I guess, to expand into those areas and help those underserved areas? Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Our members, when they're improving, they know all the costs, the pre-cost, the permits, the fees, the applications they have to get, the installation of any new facility, and then at the end, or construction during it, and then at the end, they know there's property taxes and expenses that are upkeep and everything that has to happen afterwards. So obviously, anywhere along that line will help that broadband dollar go further. Inflation, supply chain issues have hit this industry as well. They're looking at the whole cost of a project, how to get construction, how to get the facility, all the electronics and everything that they need. So all of that goes into the higher cost that they're seeing in the last few years. Grant money does help. It will help things go further, and that's absolutely helping them look at it and look at the whole picture. But yes, any relief in any of those areas would be helpful.
Chair recognizes Rep. Bagole.
Thank you, Madam Chair. What would you say is the biggest barrier for your clients to provide broadband other than the cost itself?
Go ahead.
Well, the cost is number one. It's enormously expensive, especially in rural communities with sparsely populated areas, to make the business case for providing broadband. But we run into, it's like whack-a-mole. We run into new problems all the time. I would say the newest issue that one of our members has run up against, we just found out about last week. This company has a project. It's less than a mile that they're working in the right of way. They got the necessary permit from the road commission in that area, which is all they've ever needed to be able to do this work. And then the DNR came in, and for the first time that we're aware of, they've invoked a 1925 law, and they're now requiring companies to obtain vegetative management easements in rights of way that are generally mowed on a regular basis. And that's a $10,000 expense just for this small project, and that's on top of $30,000 in additional DNR fees that the company's been required to pay. So when we run into those sorts of things, that can, any money that's taken away from the network is going to mean fewer people get the service, or that service is going to cost more. So we just run into these unexpected expenses all the time, and it's constant effort trying to rationalize some of those decisions.
If I could just clarify, is this a boring project?
Yes, it is.
Also, and they still want the vegetation management? And
We're told, we submitted a FOIA request to the DNR last week. We want to get our facts together before, we can find what the problem, or how to solve the problem. We're told this is the first time it's ever applied this requirement, and if it goes statewide, it means every facility and every right-of-way for every provider is going to need this new easement. And that's a huge revenue windfall for the department, but huge new expense on broadband expansion. So, we're looking forward to getting the FOIA responses and learning more, and we can keep you posted. But it's those kinds of things that really can make the difference in a tough business case already. If you add those kinds of expenses on, it can really hurt a project.
Madam Chair, I just have one more unless there's another question. Our members are also working really hard on workforce and keeping their workforce and training new ones that come in as they're trying to improve. We also had Washtenaw Community College as one of our members. If you go to our website, you can see a list of all of our members. They have a really fun, quick, fairly expensive though, training for fiber optic technicians. So if somebody wants to get into that field, it's going to be a good field to go into, but keeping those employees on staff and keeping them trained is also, I'm sure other businesses in the state are doing that, and so our members are facing that as well.
Thank you for that. Chair recognizes Representative Hill.
Hello. I just want folks to know that Joelle and I were both in Baraga on Friday, so they have, the UP connection is absolutely there, and they let me stand next to the internet, which was very exciting. One of my, they have which is a room full of cables, but I did get to stand next to the internet, so thank you. One of the highlights of my new job. And I understand, I did not get to see this, but in Lance they have one of the original hand crank phones, which they still operate as a phone. So I'm looking forward to the day I get to go make a phone call on a hand crank phone. So telecom, absolutely essential, really fun. I am concerned, I hear my colleagues asking about exempting property taxes and the fact that local governments have been starved for decades for investment. And so I'm concerned that we would, I understand that we need to spend as many dollars as we can directly on the broadband equipment and investments. At the same time, wearing my local government hat and knowing how, in particular, my communities in the Upper Peninsula are so very strapped for funds that I'm concerned that because of decisions that were made to not fund local government in the past, we are going to need to make sure that local governments are supported. And I am also being made aware of this question about the DNR, the similar concern that sometimes we have to make choices. Things cost money, and certainly as I'm in this job as well over the last 5 months, learning of the disinvestment and the lack of investment there's been over the decades, and how we need to make sure that we as a state are supporting these places so that they have this. And with the billions of dollars that are coming in at the federal level, how can we make sure that those federal dollars are coming in and being spent well, there's a state match as well. Do you have any comment on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the question was, do we support it? Yes, it would help alleviate it, but yes, it's a weight, it's a balancing act, it's an investment consideration by our members and the state and you as policymakers. So absolutely, there are all those considerations coming in. There are some local governments that are partnering very well with our members in these grant applications and then preparing for the federal applications. And I think they would love a tool like that to try to save some money and get some of the investment money for broadband go a little further. And that's why partnerships do work. So anything that can bring everybody together and get it a little further will be helpful.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Representative Aragona.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate it. Thank you guys for being here. I was noticing on your policy objectives, your third one down, railroad, rail trail, and DNR permitting revisions. Can you speak to that a little bit? And then maybe if there's anywhere where you think that we as policymakers can help you there, can you just delve a little deeper into that bullet point? Thank you.
Yes, I've talked to a lot of you and on these issues. When a plan is executed by a company to even look to invest in an area, they look for all those rights-of-way permits that have to be done, where the best way to install it. So a rail trail is actually a very beneficial place to install facilities, and but all the permits whom they have to go to get a permit, how long it takes. We have a short building season. All of those factors come into place. So they have been a struggle for some of my members, and that's why they raise up to us here in Lansing, and we come to you and talk about them. So we'd like to keep them as predictable and as possible, like how long it'll take, how much it'll cost, and then that way they know when they're planning what their whole picture is going to be. So all of those things, another vegetation easement worry is just going to set right on top of our planners at our companies, and they'll have to talk to their board where they thought it was going to be this much per installation, and now it's going to be this much per installation. Can they do it? Can they do it now, or do they have to apply for a grant? It all goes into that. So the more predictable it is, will be better.
Yeah, and specifically on the rail trail, I think it was 2012, a law was passed that provided, for the first time, easy access for a company to run a fiber down a rail trail. And it was encouraging deployment in rural communities or anywhere where it's a lot more cost effective to go in that kind of straight line than it is to tear up roads all through a project. And a fee was set at a pretty low level then to encourage that. That fee sunset, I think, after 5 or 7 years, and the DNR has raised it exponentially. So companies now are paying a huge amount to utilize that. So we would like to see the legislature go back to those original fees, again, to allow companies to go from point A to point B without having to, get in the right of way on the roads and create traffic situations when they're doing that. So a railroad, the courts may have solved our railroad problem. We'll see. It used to be that it was extremely difficult and extremely expensive to get permits to bore under railroad tracks in the right of way. The rail companies decided how much to charge, how long it would take. We've had a company waiting for 3 years, still hasn't been able to get a permit. We have companies that won't even expand their network if they know they have to cross a railroad because it's so burdensome. One of our members challenged that requirement and won a court case saying if you're boring 15 feet or more under a railroad, the railroad has no legislatively authorized authority over you. That's been appealed to the Supreme Court, so we'll see. But if that decision holds, it'll solve a lot of problems in terms of getting broadband out quickly.
Chair recognizes Representative Preston.
Thank you. Just going back to the DNR and their vegetation permits, how expansive is this? So is it rail, trail, road easement, no matter where DNR lands are? How aggressive are they getting on this, or is it just relegated to specific habitats or sites that require extra, or are they hitting you on all levels that they own? Because we're 80% state-owned. So this could be a major factor, because I'm still without internet. So
Honestly, we don't know the extent. This is the first time we've seen it. We learned about it last week. We submitted the FOIA request. We know what our member told us they were told by the DNR, and it didn't sound encouraging. We know there's $11 billion coming to Michigan for infrastructure projects, and we want some of that. So we're hoping the FOIA will shine a light on what the actual decision-making process was and how expansive this could be. But if it applies everywhere, it's a significant new requirement on anybody in the right-of-way.
is there a possibility that it would extend all state-owned land by the DNR?
The act they're citing applies everywhere, yes. There's nothing unique about where this company is trying to do some work.
And do you guys have any idea why now?
$11 billion.
It was a surprise, yeah.
I will be happy to share the FOIA results with the committee as soon when we get them. We're trying to learn more, too.
That'd be great.
But it's very concerning to us right now.
That would be great, thank you. Any more questions? No? Well, I know that, Joel, you've met with quite a few of us, so I guess you've answered the questions before we got here. Okay, well, thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate the presentation. Thank you so much. You're welcome.
Madam Chair, members.
You're welcome. We need a motion to excuse members from, actually, we don't need that. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. Okay. All right. Rep. Aragona moves to excuse Rep. Neely today. Thank you. All right. With there being no further business before the Energy and Communications and Technology Committee, we stand adjourned today. Thank you.